Let us now look at the condensation pathways. This is sub-lecture 2. In this second part of the lecture, let us focus on the condensation pathways, where we discuss about exploring the possibilities of the capability approach, the organization of content around competencies, and the design of a curriculum that allows for differentiated learning pathways. It introduces the idea of challenging the conventional assumptions that underlie the classical curriculum, such as the division of students by age, the role of the teacher, the duration of learning periods, and the promotion criteria. It proposes to explore new possibilities that enable a learning itinerary to be followed by each student at their own pace, focusing on agreed content and competency standards. It also suggests that a condensed curriculum can be delivered in multiple learning configurations, such as face-to-face, hybrid, or distance-based approaches. Let us look closely on the selection of powerful, relevant knowledge, our filtering and recycling of the old curriculum. This lecture proposes to use the capability approach as a framework for selecting and organizing the curriculum content. The capability approach is based on the notions of functioning and capabilities, which are the ways of being and doing that a person can achieve and value. You are invited to reflect on the desired functioning and capabilities for your context, to analyze your own curriculum in terms of how much it contributes to you, and to explore the possibilities of using Nussbaum's list of universal capabilities as a reference for designing a condensed curriculum. Now, what is the list of desired capabilities in the context of curriculum condensation? There is a Nussbaum's list of 10 universal capabilities, which can be viewed as needs, values, and starting points for considering a condensed curriculum. The list is as follows. 1. Life. Being able to live a complete and satisfying life into old age. Not having life cut short or being made such that it hardly seems worth living. 2. Bodily health. Living with good health, and not in a state where ill health seriously affects the quality of life. Having access to medical help as needed. To have good food and be able to exercise in ways that sustain health. 3. Bodily integrity. Being able to go where you want to go. Being free from attack and abuse of any kind. Being able to satisfy healthy bodily needs. 4. Senses, imagination, and thought. Being able to use all of one's senses. Being free to imagine, think, and reason. Having the education that enables this to be done in a civilized human way. Having access to cultural experiences, literature, art, and so on, and being able to produce one's own expressive work. Having freedom of expression, including political and religious. 5. Emotion. Being able to become attached to other things and people outside of ourselves, loving and caring for them. Experiencing grief, longing, gratitude, and justified anger. Not being subject to fear and anxiety or blighted by trauma or neglect. 6. Practical reason. Being able to consider and develop an understanding of good and evil, and to think critically about the world and one's own place in it. Being able to live with one's conscience. 7. Affiliation. Being able to associate with others, living with them, and acting for them. Showing concern for people in general and interacting with others. Having sympathy and compassion, acting to help people. Seeking justice and making things right. Protecting others and the rights of people, including freedom of speech and freedom from fear. 8. Other species. Being able to live with the full range of creatures and plants that inhabit the world around us. To be able to enjoy nature and appreciate its beauty. 9. Play. Being able to laugh, play games, and generally have fun. Not having one's enjoyment and recreation criticized or prevented. 10. Control over one's environment. Being able to participate in political activities, making free choices, and joining with others to promote political views. Being able to own property and goods on the same basis that others do so. Being able to seek and accept work, and to be treated reasonably at work. Being free from unwarranted search and seizure. Now, let us briefly mention the organization of content around the long-term development of competencies. The idea of organizing the curriculum around the development of competencies, which are sets of skills that enable a person to solve problematic situations in everyday life. Further studies, or work, are discussed in this section. The activity explains the difference between a competency-based approach and an objectives-based approach, and the implications for curriculum design and delivery. The lecture also proposes to rethink the schooling model backward, from the desired exit profile of the students to the specific learning situations that will develop the competencies. The lecture also discusses the possibility of using a non-graded approach, where students are grouped by ability and interest, not by age, and work on projects and learning centers that reflect their needs and preferences. Let us quickly look at the map of desired competencies. This lecture presents 3 levels of maps of general competencies, one related to particular fields of knowledge, and the other 2 to generic sets of skills. The section also suggests a possible progression of competencies from basic to enhanced in different areas such as communication, socio-emotional, problem-solving, critical judgment, commitment and responsibility, and learning to learn. The following is an example of a map of general competencies. Take note that in any case, the number of competencies to structure a condensed curriculum should be small and included within an integral developmental path. For Level 1, we have the following desired competencies. 1. Basic communication competency, reading, writing, understanding, storytelling, expressing quantity number. 2. Basic socio-emotional competency, sharing, empathizing, respecting others, self-regulation. For Level 2, the desired competencies are 1. Enhanced communication competency, including messages in different codes. 2. Basic problem-solving competency, all kinds of problems, not just mathematical ones, plus initiative. 3. Enhanced socio-emotional competency. 4. Basic critical judgment competency. 5. Basic commitment and responsibility competency. For Level 3, the desired competencies are 1. Enhanced problem-solving, strategizing competency. 2. Enhanced critical judgment competency. 3. Enhanced commitment and responsibility competency, plus civic participation. 4. Basic learning to learn competency. Let us now discuss briefly how to condense a curriculum to allow differentiated learning pathways. This lecture proposes to imagine a curriculum that is more open and diverse, catering to different needs and allowing for flexibility at the school level to personalize the learning pathway of different students. This lecture suggests using the metaphor of a tangram, where different components of the curriculum can be arranged into different configurations to facilitate learning of empowering knowledge. Take note that a tangram is a dissection puzzle consisting of 7 flat polygons, called tans, which are put together to form shapes. The objective is to replicate a pattern, given only an outline, using all 7 pieces without overlapping. It's like piecing together life's challenges, finding purpose, and embracing individuality amidst chaos. Take note that according to the article by Hodges et al. 2020, the components of a curriculum are 1. Learning outcomes, the statements of what learners are expected to know, do, and value at the end of a learning experience. 2. Content, the information, concepts, ideas, and facts that support the learning outcomes and provide the basis for learning activities and assessments. 3. Delivery, the modes and methods of instruction that are used to facilitate learning, such as face-to-face, online, synchronous, asynchronous, etc. 4. Assessment, the processes and tools that are used to measure and evaluate learners' achievement of the learning outcomes and provide feedback for improvement. 5. Feedback, the information and guidance that are given to learners and instructors to enhance learning and teaching. The question is, how can you move around the above components to achieve the best results when implementing curriculum condensation? This lecture also presents some lessons learned from multi-grade curriculum and personalized learning paths, and some examples of how to design a bank of situations, a teacher's toolbox, and a development sequence for a personalized curriculum. Now, what are the lessons learned from the multi-grade curriculum? Despite the high prevalence and persistence of multi-grade schooling, education systems continue to be organized according to a monograded norm. This norm needs to be challenged because curriculum materials developed with the needs of monograde teaching in mind, where a teacher only teaches one grade level during a timetabled period, places a heavy burden on multigrade teachers who are expected to adapt these materials to their own needs. Therefore, to consider how curriculum planners can give more support to multigrade teachers by presenting the curriculum in different formats and permitting some flexibility in delivery to make lesson planning easier and avoid students wasting time waiting for their turn with the teacher. Curriculum adaptation is complicated by the different ways that multigrade teachers manage their teaching and also by deeply entrenched attitudes and patterns of working found in many curriculum development units. Let us quickly look at what personalized learning paths are. 1. Personalized learning provides a theoretical framework for how every learner can be treated as an individual at a practical level, despite schools often having large and heterogeneous classes. The model takes into account the key conditions of learning, such as the motivation of the student and the associated feelings of autonomy, ability, and relevance of the learning. 2. The personalized learning model uses practical tools to help students gain more ownership of their learning. The aim is to increase motivation and commitment to learning, acknowledging that the students themselves often have a stronger understanding of what they are capable of and what drives them to succeed. An individual learning path and the associated self-assessment is key to this. 3. The biggest challenges for personalized learning come from the current institutional culture of schools and from how teaching is organized. The curriculum-based model introduces subjects individually for a short period, 2 to 3 times a week. 4. The idea of individualized learning is easiest to implement when one class teacher works with the same group of students throughout the academic year. However, students groups in secondary school usually have multiple teachers, particularly in different subjects and in large schools, so long-term and deep-seated learning strategies require close cooperation between teachers. 5. Setting goals and receiving feedback are essential parts of the learning process. The learning path is a concrete, visualized, and easily understandable list of goals designed to guide students from their current level of knowledge toward a higher level of competence. Self-assessment and peer review, coupled with the learning path, help the student to better understand their own skills and increase their sense of autonomy and ownership in learning. And 6. Pekka Purra began to develop the practical application of the teaching methodology and its theoretical model in 2009, giving high school students a 7-week study assignment instead of shorter learning objectives. This proved to be a good practice for both fast and slower learners. This is the end of Module 2, Lecture 4, Sub-Lecture 2.